Today we're going to talk about two companies. One is named after a woman, I'm a lady, and the other one is named after. The two companies are Supermicrocomputer and IREN. IREN is the one named after a woman. They both released their earnings yesterday, so now we're going to have a look at it. The only similarity between these two companies is their market cap. They both have about a $20 billion market cap, and we're going to find out which one is the most interesting to be putting your money in. Or maybe none of them are. The first company we're going to talk about is IREN. Their revenue this year is $144 million, which is well below the estimates of $219 million that was expected. This was largely driven by their Bitcoin holdings, which had a big loss because Bitcoin, of course, is down. So the paper loss is up. They had a total loss of $248 million. This is largely due to Bitcoin being lower. So now they have a big paper loss, but still it was a loss also because of other factors like their AI expansion. They also announced a strategic partnership with NVIDIA worth about a couple of billions, and their AI cloud revenue, which they are pivoting to. They're going from a pure Bitcoin play to now they're more turning into an AI cloud provider, is growing significantly. Of course, it only makes a small part of the revenue, but it grew by 94%. So that's a really nice growth. But still, it only made up for $33 million in revenue, which actually isn't that much considered their market value is 20 billion. They also said that they are expecting to have about 3 billion, bit more, of recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue by the end of 2026. So that would be great. The question, of course, is how much of that revenue will turn into a profit, but that will be seen. So if they can deliver on these facts and keep on growing in the continuing years like this, the 20 billion valuation doesn't sound so crazy. Of course, there are some question marks. Question mark number one, will they turn a profit? Will they become way more profitable? Because to have a 20 billion valuation justified, you have to grow a lot, plus you have to have a nice profit margin. Of course, if they can keep growing their revenue and increase their profit margin, this market cap isn't that crazy, and they might well, in a couple of years, grow into this valuation. So it might be an interesting thing to put some money into IREN. But as always, in this channel, we are looking for the 10x at least. And I don't think that it will be a 10x in the future. It already 10x'd in the last couple, maybe I'll have a look. Yeah, I think it's in the last year or so, the 10x, yeah. It almost 10x'd in the last year. So that's just crazy. But it is possible that it 10x's again from here on out, because it all depends on how long the AI hype will continue to last. The AI hype is really driving this market, so it might as well be that it's 2x, 3x, 4x in the next couple of years. Who knows? But it is a possibility with IREN. I wouldn't put it against them, because we all know the biggest value indicator of a stock is hype. It is not the market value, it is not the profitability, it's just hype. If the stock can profit off some hype around AI, hype around Bitcoin, hype around wheat stocks, hype around anything, then the stock will explode or grow. It's a given. It's very strange, but that's how the market works. So IREN might be interesting to invest in. The next stock we're going to talk about is Supermicrocomputing. Now this is a whole other beast. They made a revenue of 10 billion this quarter, which is 123% growth year over year. The estimates of the analyst was about 12 billion, so that was not a hit, it was a miss. But still growing 123% year over year. That's incredible, with a revenue of 10 billion. Remember, this company also has a market cap of around 20 billion, just like IREN, but IREN only did a revenue of about 144 million, and they make a revenue of about 10 billion. Also, IREN didn't make a profit, and they are turning a profit. The net income this quarter is $483 million. So they are much bigger in terms of revenue, much bigger in terms of profit, and they are growing super fast. So why is this stock only worth 20 billion? It's because of the past. Supermicrocomputing has a bit of a bad rep when it comes to accounting and changing their numbers and doing some creative accounting. They lost their compliancy from the Nasdaq. Now they regained their compliancy from the Nasdaq. So now they seem to be in a kind of a rebuild phase. Rebuild more like in rebuilding trusts for investors, because right now You don't know if any other skeletons might come out of the closet and something bad will happen, because just looking at the numbers, the company is doing great and should be valued much higher. Management is also expecting revenue to grow much higher. They can't really supply enough to meet the demand. So that shows that there's a big ask for their products, that there's a lot of revenue to be made in the future if they can boost their production. So just by looking at the numbers, I would say Supermicro Computing is a better bet than IREN. However, given that they had some accounting issues that people don't really trust them, it makes it more of a dangerous play than IREN. IREN is also just a gamble, of course. You don't know how things will develop in the future, but both of them are a bit of a gamble. If I would just looking at the numbers, I would put all my eggs in Supermicro Computing if I had to choose between those two. But of course, it's a bit of a vibe, and it's a bit of what do you feel is going to grow the most or get the most attention from investors. If big investors don't want to invest in Supermicro Computer because of their history, it might not be the smartest play. But of course you don't know. Maybe they will change, maybe they will see, okay, their account now is up to par, everything is okay, let's invest, and it might go parabolic. So in conclusion, both can be interesting to invest in. Which one do you think is the most interesting? I'm really curious. Maybe you have some ideas on why this one and why not that one, or why both, or why none. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really curious to know, I'm really interested. Or if you want to see me talk about other companies, let me know which company you might be interested in. See you, bye.